It wasn't until 2017 when listening to either, I can't remember whether it was All in the Mind or Hidden Brain, but I was introduced to the self-determination theory of motivation. And it was at this point when it all hit me like a school bus. I saw the picture so clearly and all the pieces just started kind of clicking into place. Like, I can't even explain the experience. It would be as if you took a jigsaw puzzle, shook it up, and dumped it onto the carpet and watched everything just fall perfectly into place. It was such a bizarre and surreal experience that I have really nothing to compare it to, but just take my word for it. This was the point when all of the research I had done and all of the problems and questions that I have had trying to figure out how we could possibly create an epiconomy that would function correctly, this was the point that it all just clicked. The basic psychological and sociological foundation for the AI STEM drive and the STEM epiconomy is as follows. 1. Provide for everybody's basic needs. 2. People who have had their basic needs met, given the self-determination theory of motivation, states that in order for people to be intrinsically motivated, they have to be competent, understand and know what they're doing. They have to have connection, have friends in the circle of work that they are doing. And they have to feel a sense of autonomy. They have to be able to feel confident in what they are doing. With a properly designed social structure such that top-notch education is available and distributed to everybody, no exceptions, and social motivational foci are designed to settle into the lowest possible energy states. As you might understand from thermodynamics, how things settle into any one of several specific energy states, I'm talking about creating a social structure where the lowest possible energy state is such that it clicks into an area where all the social foci and motivational foci go where we want them. We're going to get into this a little bit later. In such a structure, the natural drive to self-actualize blossoms for everybody because the 3 requirements for intrinsic motivation are met. Self-actualized people, according to Kaufman, have continued freshness of appreciation. They're accepting, they are authentic, they have an efficient perspective of reality. They approach everything with equanimity. They have purpose. They are humanitarian by their nature. And they seek peak experiences. They have good moral intuition, and they are highly creative. Now, self-actualizing people do have a deep need to give back to society in a loving and nurturing way. They don't hoard, they are not selfish, and they veer from corruption at any cost. These people, in turn, give back to society with a fire driven by intrinsic motivations, which, according to years and years of research, is far superior to any level of motivation produced by money or financial stimulation. Okay, now remember that this is a superficial overview of the STEM epiconomy, and we're not even close to finished here. So, I'm going to wrap things up for now, and next week we'll continue with the fundamental underpinnings of STEM theory. Okay, now remember the supraorganism optima, what we talked about before? In the next episode, we're going to look at artificial intelligence and machine learning and how that relates to everything we've talked about so far. So, what I will say before closing up is that any sufficiently advanced organism requires a conductor, not an electrical conductor, but as in a musical conductor. We have our central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, all of the nerves, the entire network of nerves that flow throughout our entire body. Without it, nothing could even be possible in as large and complex of a system as our bodies are. So if we're going to function in time as a perfect symphony of human organisms, we'll need a sort of central nervous system. Governments for a long time have sort of tried to be the hack replacement for what has obviously been the sense of what is missing. But the problem with having a government orchestrate an economy is that it would fail within a matter of years, if not months. What you need is an unbiased, high-speed sensory and reactive system that can effectively and efficiently orchestrate the STEM economy. And this is where the AI STEM drive comes in. Now, as all of these pieces began to kind of fit together, I began to realize that such a system would solve a lot more than just corruption. I began to suspect that if implemented properly, the AI STEM drive could kickstart post-scarcity, completely remove corruption except for some small percentage, exponentially accelerate the growth of scientific advancement and technological research, promote self-actualization, and possibly even a cohesive social actualization. Hunger and homelessness would be a thing of the past. Addiction, for the most part, would be solved. Education would become the core of everything, and corporations would turn into collectives, which would mean that corporate competition would turn into healthy cooperative competition. Pollution would become a non-issue. Prisons would actually become true correctional facilities. Such a social dynamic even opens us up to the requirements necessary to begin building megastructures. Since manpower would be at its complete max, resources really no longer have a limit except for how quickly we can pull it. And the only limit we really have is imagination and time. Think about it. Generation ships would become an actual possibility. Even a Dyson Sphere would be in the realm of possible for us. The list goes on, and we're going to cover a lot more as we go, but think about it. Jobs aren't sought for their financial potential anymore, which means people will either seek the jobs they love to do, or they will find a way they can contribute to society in a way that they will be fulfilled in doing so. Nobody would care about somebody else making more money than they do, because that concept wouldn't even exist, especially in a society full of self-actualizing people. No more funding bottlenecks, so science and tech explode, and self-actualization would sweep the planet. Now, so far, science completely backs everything I have put together here. However, like I said, there's a lot more to cover. We're just scratching the surface. And so before the interviews begin, we will have thoroughly combed through the entirety of STEM theory.